Hello, viewers of Spell, and welcome to Spell Re for another part of What If Asta Was in Fairytail. Now, if you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. I will be making some adjustments to the content I put out. I want to put out some more discussions, which I may or may not just make a completely different YouTube channel for. Don't know. Since I want to talk about anime, sci-fi, and just a bunch of different stuff, so I might just make a new channel, along with just changes in my real life, which might cause slight changes to the schedule, but overall I am going to be trying to put out more content. But, without further ado, let's begin this video. Hello, editor here. I apologize for some of the audio in this if it is, kind of bad. Still trying to figure out how to use this mic. And let's begin. This what if, just going over, we'll skip some of the filler, like hilariously when I think Fairytail did a Naruto reference. But talking about some more canon-y stuff, Lucy, she would restore some relationship with her father. Not by much. Much though. Still a very much work in progress. And we'd begin with Fairytail taking a job at a restaurant, with Lucy just saying, "Jeez, why is this uniform so tacky?" gesturing to it, as Pappy would be wearing a little suit, while Natsu was being the worst waiter eating the customer's food. As Gray would just say, "Well, we aren't doing this, they'll pay your rent." As Lucy just said, "I know, but, can you put on some more clothes? I don't think you're wearing the right uniform for the establishment." As Gray would just look down and realize that, yes, this does not look good at all. As multiple people in the restaurant would be blushing, as Urza was getting really into waitressing. They would end the day's work, and Natsu and Gray would get banned from working at the restaurant ever again. They would return to Fairytail and see a weird board with a lot of circles. As Asta just said, "Hey, how's your job?" As Lucy would just say, "Mixed. How about you?" Asta would just say, "No problem. Someone needed help getting rid of a spell, and I got hired for that." As Lucy said, "What's up with the giant board?" Asta would look over and say, "Mary Jane had that drawn up. It's all the dark guilds. Or at least most." As Lucy's like, "Dark guilds?" As Urza would walk up and say, "There's more than I thought." Mary Jane would respond with, "Yes, they've been more active recently, so everyone should be reminded about all this." As Lucy would say, "What's up with the big circle in the middle?" As Mary Jane would explain that that's the Barm Alliance, a collection of the 3 most powerful dark guilds with a number of smaller guilds underneath them. The Ration Sace, the Grimoire Heart, and Tartaros. As Gray would just say, "I didn't realize Eisenwald was part of the Barm Alliance." As Juvia said, "Yeah, most of the guilds me and Ganjil destroyed were part of the Ration Sace faction, except Fairytail, but we're all friends now." As Asta just said, "You might not want to remind everyone." As Mockroff would walk in. As Mockroff said, "And we're going to be fighting them." As everyone's jaws would be almost to the floor, as Mira Jane would just ask, "How are you doing, Master?" As everyone's just like, "That's the first question you have?" As Urza would have a stern face. As Mockroff would go on, "The Rashon Sace have been making concerning moves. And with the Magic Council still not officially fully restored, it's up to us to confront the issue." As Gray said, "So, we're gonna have to fight them?" As Mockroff says, "No. There's no way we would survive the retaliation of the entire Barm Alliance. Instead, we're doing a coalition." As everyone would be a little bit surprised, as even Asta said, coalition? As Makarov nodded. Coalition will be made up of Fairytail, Blue Pegasus, Lamia Scale, and Kate Shelter. Each one will select members to join this combat group. As Asta said, I can take him on by myself. As Urza would knock him in the head and say, don't be a fool. As Lucy would just say, well, they sound really tough. As someone else would say, well, I heard the Erection Sace only has 6 members. Shouldn't be that hard. As someone else said, yeah, but it said that each of the members can take out a guild single-handedly. As Lucy would be concerned. As Asta would ask, who's going? Makarov said, I'll tell you in the morning. I haven't made up my mind yet. As the night would be tense. As the next morning, the representatives from Fairytail would be announced. As Makarov stood at the high point of the Fairytail Guild Hall. And he would announce, Urza Scarlet, Natsu Dragneel, Asta, Grey Fullbuster, Lucy Heartphilia. As Lucy would just be like, why me? And Juvia would be lamenting the fact that she didn't get to go. As the team would go off to the rendezvous point. As when they got there, someone asked, so where are we meeting? As Urza would just say, we're meeting at the Blue Pegasus Guildmaster's second home. As Gray would just say, ugh. Right, Bob. As Urza would just say, he might be a little, eccentric, but he still deserves our respect. As Lucy would just say, wait, isn't it against the law for guilds to go to war? Urza would say, normally yes, but with the Magic Council not officially being in operation, and technically dark guilds aren't recognized, we should be just fine. As Natsu, since they'd be in a cart, would be throwing up. As Natsu would be sick, and Asta would be helping hold Natsu, half of Natsu's body outside the cart in case he threw up. As Happy would just say, careful, don't drop him. Asta responding, don't worry, it's not the first time I've had to do this. As they would arrive at the meeting point. As they would walk in, it wouldn't seem like anyone was home until they would hear several people saying, they finally arrived. As the Blue Pegasus members would come out. As Asta would just say, is it just me or do they look like a boy band? The Blue Pegasus members would make their introduction. Being Eve, Ren, and Hibiki. Would all make their introductions and start flattering Lucy and Urza. As Natsu just said, can you be serious for 1 minute? You're not being hired to flirt with women. As one of them would just say, oh, it's you, Asta. As Asta just said, yeah, I remember the last time I ran into one of you guys. As Gray just said, wait, you ran into him? Yeah, remember a little while ago? As Gray just said, oh yeah, that one. When you, as Asta just said, never speak of that again. I thought I made you agree to never speak of that again. Sniff, sniff. Is that my honey I smell? As Urza just starts shaking. No, not him. As Asta said, oh, that guy. With Natsu and Gray confused, as Ichia would make his presence known, as he did an almost staged entrance. As Asta just said, stay 5 feet away from us, and we should be good. As the Blue Pegasus members would say, Ichia, you know him? He says, yes. We went on a couple missions together. And my love, Urza, As Urza just said, I am not your girlfriend and I never was. As Asta just said, didn't I tell you that next time I saw you in the same room, this wouldn't end well? As he started pulling out his sword. As Ichiya just said, I'm sorry. As Gray just said, I don't know who you guys Playboy wannabes are, but Urza and Lucy are members of our guild. As Ichiya just said, yes, my apologies. Now, all three of you can leave. As Asta, nearly losing it, would just draw out his sword and say, that's it, I'm killing him. Urza just saying, they're supposed to be our allies. No, don't do that, Asta. As the two sides would heat up, as Ichiya would get incredibly creepy and get into Urza's personal space. She would completely freak out and give him a right hook, with Asta actually bouncing him away from the door into the second floor. As the others would say, boss! As Lamia Scale would arrive, with Leon now being a member. Gray and Leon would meet and exchange cold pleasantry. As a member of the 10 Wizard Saints would also be with them, Jura. As Urza would tell him that it's nice to meet him. As Asta said, I think the last people are arriving. As the person would trip and fall. After that, they would introduce themselves as Wendy. Wendy Marvel. As Asta would just say, Natsu, isn't that the person you wanted to ask a few questions? As that's where we're going to leave it. This is actually a bit longer than I was thinking, at least when I'm recording this. But hopefully this should be good. I also realized I should probably be doing a rewatch while I do what ifs of a series. So yeah. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you around the channel. This is Bill Ree, signing off. Sorry for some of the changes in pitches and tones. This is me after I finish editing at 9:39 at night. But I do sincerely hope you enjoy.